I just was not impressed by the ads in the Super Bowl last night. In fact, I would call some of them distasteful. But let's see what everybody else thinks. Joining the company now is Peter Kazazes. He's with Sibyl Vision. And in Washington, advertising guru Anthony Papp. He is the president of the Papp Group. Anthony, I want to start with you. You've heard my opinion. I thought many of the ads were simply distasteful, turned me off. Do you think I got a point or no?
Well, I think a few of them took a gamble, and I'm not sure that it actually paid off for them. In particular, that GoDaddy ad that you just showed, that probably was a gamble, and unfortunately, that was pretty much below the belt, if you will.
Why do you think they did this? I thought the ads were overly sexual. They weren't particularly funny. I want to know now, why did they go in that direction? Why?
Well, in the past years, they have a certain brand that they have to uphold. And unfortunately, this was a different take on sort of the same play. It didn't really pan out. I think it was a shock value is what they were looking for, to move it beyond sex and into sort of just sheer surprising. But I'm not sure it actually worked.
Okay. Hold on with us for 1 second, please, Anthony. I want to turn to Peter Kazazes. You follow Twitter feeds, right? And you've got an algorithm which lets you judge the emotion, positive or negative, in Twitter feeds. Is that correct?
Yeah, so it scores every tweet that comes through. And we were tracking GoDaddy last night, and the opinions were all over the place. It was a very polarized situation. Really? People were either fans of the commercial and fans of the GoDaddy brand, or completely against it, and the majority were against it. GoDaddy came out with just neutral sentiment, and given the volume, that's pretty impressive, because people tend to tweet positively.
Which commercial generated the most positive buzz on Twitter?
It was actually the pistachio commercial towards the end of the...
Really?
Yeah, and the South Korean pop star Psy.
Yeah.
And people loved it. It didn't elicit the most volume, but it was by far the most sentiment.
So that was the most positive sentiment,
yeah.
That one that we're looking at right now?
Yep.
Gangman stuff. Okay. Right. What was the most negative sentiment?
It was a Cars.com ad, which it makes sense. The ad, to me at least, made no sense. And it's interesting. The fourth most often used word behind Superbowl, Cars.com, and a few other things was bizarre. And it is. The commercial did not make any sense.
I agree. I couldn't follow it. I didn't know what they were trying to tell me. And it wasn't funny.
Yeah.
Let's get back to Anthony. What, in your opinion, was the best commercial? The one that reached more viewers in the most positive way and made them remember the name of the product?
I think that there were probably two. My top favorite would be the Budweiser Clydesdale, but only by a little bit. I think the Dodge Ram American Farmer was a surprise, and it was very impactful overall. I think it put Dodge on the map as a Super Bowl contender for future commercials.
Now, what do you think about what was in those two commercials, the Budweiser and the Dodge? What was in them that appealed to you, that you, as a professional in the ad business, made them a success?
Well, with Budweiser, they own the Clydesdales. It's an icon for their brand. They brought it to life. They brought it back. People like that feel-good story. Earlier today, people were just saying, I want to give that horse a hug. I mean, just to elicit that kind of emotion and be memorable with the names of the brands, that by far is the best thing you could possibly hope for.
Do you think that the advertisers got their money's worth, bearing in mind the 34-minute blackout?
Oh, absolutely. And for those who actually put the ads online prior, they've got more than their money's worth. It's a great investment to do a Super Bowl ad, especially these days with the online version and especially in the social sphere.
Okay. Peter, as I understand it, half the ads had a Twitter hashtag on them.
Yeah, and that's up from just under 20% last year, which is interesting that they're realizing the importance of these Twitter campaigns. There were hashtag campaigns, tweeted us, that kind of stuff. And it's interesting to note that 40% of people tweet while they're watching television.
They do?
Yeah.
40%?
40%.
Tweet. Anthony, you heard that? 40% tweet? Really?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, the name of the game right now is to find ways to bring people through TV, through online media, through any mobile devices, just to keep the conversation going for as long as you possibly can. That is the goal.
Excellent. I mean, this is fascinating to me. Anthony Papp and Peter Kazazes, both of you, thank you very much indeed for chiming in on this. It's a very interesting story. We'll be back to it as well. But before I go any further,